Introduction to Lin Yicheng. Lin Yicheng has traveled through a high-tech world with extremely advanced technology. On his first day, he was filled with joy and wanted to become a technology transporter. The next day, Lin Yicheng became anxious and said, "This future world can't stay any longer." Chapter 1. This future world cannot last for a day. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The gravity system of the Starfire Ecological Space Station has been debugged today and is expected to be officially put into use in 427 days. At that time, the space station will be the cradle of all humanity. The completion of the Ecological Space Station will indicate that we will have the ability to build bases in outer space and also have the ability to conduct deep space migration. A message spread from the large screen outside the mall, accompanied by visuals, but the visuals were not 2-dimensional, but completely 3-dimensional. And from various angles of the screen, there is no difference in the picture, which means that even when viewed from the side, the picture is still clear and 3-dimensional. Che, what can we say about building a base in outer space? What kind of base can we build to withstand, capable of interstellar navigation, spanning several light years of extraterrestrial life? That's right, I think the construction of this space station is only for running errands. Just look at the name, Spark. A space station for preserving spark. I don't know anything else, but ordinary people shouldn't be able to get on this Starfire space station, but it has nothing to do with us. If the aliens come, we will already be dead. As long as our generation is having fun, don't worry about anything else. Upon seeing this news, the people around Lin Yicheng had no joy or cheers at all, only a disdainful and discerning appearance. If this were placed in Lin Yicheng's world, most people, except for some with rebellious personalities, would cheer for their country. But this world Lin Yicheng looked at the tall buildings around him, as well as the futuristic world that looked full of high-tech and full of a sense of high-tech. He couldn't help but furrow his brow and hold his forehead with one hand. This future world, I can't stay any longer. On his first day in this future world, Lin Yicheng was still very happy because it proved that he could indeed travel through it. I looked around curiously, looking at the future world where technology is more advanced than my own Earth. I thought to myself that I would have fun in this world anyway, and then leave with some local specialties and high-tech products. However, after Lin Yicheng gained a better understanding of the world, his whole person suddenly became unhappy. As far as Lin Yicheng knows, this world is facing the threat of aliens. Where do aliens come from? I don't know. When will it come? I don't know. I only know that aliens have arrived. And it came with extremely strong hostility. For ordinary people, there is too little information about aliens, and the information blockade is severe. If it weren't for decades ago when an alien spaceship arrived here and even sent a notice, ordinary people would still not have known about the aliens. The most important thing is that the notice also included a disdainful expression towards all humans, "You are all insects." It looks like a Trisolaran civilization, but according to Lin Yicheng's understanding, this is not the world in the Trisolaran's book. But this situation only made Lin Yicheng's heart inevitably more panicked. He is not sure about anything else, but what is very certain is that if he stays here, as long as there is hostility towards the arrival of aliens, he estimated that he wouldn't live for more than half a minute. A civilization capable of interstellar navigation, Lin Yicheng felt that it was too simple for the other party to want to exterminate the entire human race. Anyway, Lin Yicheng felt that he couldn't stay any longer, so it was better to leave this future world as soon as possible. After all, tomorrow and the aliens really don't know who will come first. But leaving is not that easy. How exactly should this thing be charged? Lin Yicheng's gaze turned to the screen in front of him. What appears in front of Lin Yicheng at this moment is a simple screen, which is what brings Lin Yicheng to this future world. On this slightly transparent screen, there is something similar to an energy bar, and the progress of this energy bar is currently displayed at around 50%. When this energy bar reaches 80%, it can be activated. However, What slightly alarmed Lin Yicheng was that the option to activate it did not specify whether to go home, and it was also his first time using it. If this continues to happen immediately after startup, doesn't it mean that the journey back home will become exceptionally difficult in the future? Lin Yicheng couldn't help but put on a mask of pain when he thought of this. He still has friends and family on Earth, which is also his own home. As a human being on Earth, leaving home for a long time can inevitably lead to homesickness. What are you waiting for? Even if this space station is built, it's not something we can get up to, let alone aliens who haven't arrived so quickly. The saying goes, there is wine today, and we are drunk today. After we die, let's deal with it. Our generation is unable to deal with this alien, but I believe our descendants have a way. Just as Lin Yicheng was pondering, a pleasant voice also rang in his ear. Upon hearing this, Lin Yicheng turned his head to look at the pretty standing woman beside him and couldn't help but let out a bitter smile. Who can guarantee that our generation won't see that alien anymore? You know, that alien came decades ago. Lin Yicheng didn't have an optimistic attitude when he heard this. As he spoke, Lin Yicheng glanced at his friend standing beside him. Meng Yujun, who is 1.6 meters tall, looks like a small family jade with willow eyebrows and starry eyes. When he smiles, there are small dimples on his mouth. Calculated, she is also a standard beauty. However, in this world, Lin Yicheng really hasn't seen many ugly people, most of whom are quite beautiful and handsome. I don't know if it's due to the growth environment. When it comes to time, Lin Yicheng can actually be considered an older generation person by visiting the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com. However, on the other hand, this world is not the future world of the Earth, as confirmed by Lin Yicheng in his previous understanding of the world's history. Speaking of which, you are also a little rich woman and don't have any connections, for example, can you also go to this space station? Speaking of which, Lin Yicheng couldn't help but raise his own questions. Meng Yujun's family is quite wealthy, and the exact amount of money is unknown. Meng Yujun rolled his pretty eyes helplessly upon hearing this and said, "What nonsense. With just a little money like me, what kind of connections can I have? There are so many people in this world who are richer than me. If I were to use money to queue, I wouldn't be able to make it to the queue." At this point, Meng Yujun couldn't help but pause for a moment, his eyes looking at Lin Yicheng with a hint of strangeness. "It's you, which rural area are you from? But we probably don't have any rural areas, do we?" At this point, Meng Yujun couldn't help but curl his lips, and a beautiful smile appeared on his face. There was no hint of mockery in the smile, but I felt amused by some of the jokes Lin Yicheng made when we first met. For example, Lin Yicheng's appearance of not understanding many things is quite amusing. Many things that seemed to be popular to her, and Lin Yicheng didn't even know how to use them, nor did she know the specific functions. It really looked a bit like she came from the countryside. Lin Yicheng couldn't help but think of some of his dark history in the past few days as he listened to the other parties teasing, and couldn't help feeling a bit helpless. The world he came to is indeed lagging behind in terms of technology. Chapter 2 is a bit uncertain. Let's take a look. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I said, this guy could be a spy sent by aliens. It doesn't seem like that at all. Look at his behavior these days, it's as if he's smuggled in from India and Africa. Everything looks fresh. Not far from the mall, in an ordinary floating sedan, a few people sat in the car, monitoring Lin Yicheng through the screen in front of them, who had already been fully monitored by various cameras. As he picked up the mineral water on the side and took a sip, he muttered a sentence in his mouth. "I have been monitoring this unfamiliar guy for several days, but I haven't seen any abnormal behavior from him either. There is a slight abnormality, probably because this guy is very interested in various technological products, but this kind of performance actually seems like a guy from India and Africa. The technology here is also changing rapidly. Occasionally, some foreigners will be shocked and speechless, as if they have suddenly traveled to a future world. Their own country and here are completely different worlds. Don't be careless, this guy's background is unknown. So far, our intelligence department has searched the global personnel list, but we haven't found any information about this guy. Moreover, this guy's appearance is too eerie, and we can't find any trace of the other party before. With our current level of heavenly eye, unless the other party's technology far exceeds ours, we cannot achieve this. The team leader on the side heard this and immediately spoke in a deep voice, his eyes still tightly locked onto Lin Yicheng on the screen at this moment. On the side, there was also a conversation between Lin Yicheng and others for them to analyze. The information about Lord Mengyu is quite clean, and based on their previous encounter, it doesn't seem like they have any ulterior motives. However, more investigation is needed to determine the specifics. The other person picked up Meng Yujun's information and looked at it again, but couldn't see anything wrong. The meeting between the two seemed like an accident no matter how they looked. Mainly it was the kindness of the other party. Seeing Lin Yicheng begging on the street, they took him to eat and bought a clean shirt. Later, considering that even so, Lin Yicheng might go hungry again in the future, after some consideration, he temporarily took Lin Yicheng away. Going back and forth, the two of them became familiar with each other. From this situation, it seems that Meng Yujun doesn't have much of a problem, but further investigation are needed. But if we keep monitoring like this, we don't seem to get any useful intelligence. Why don't we just arrest them and interrogate them directly? The other group member thought for a moment and frowned before saying something. I know it takes a long time and patience to monitor a person completely, so that the fish will take the bait, but the problem is, I'm afraid we don't have that much time left. He has received professional training and patience. But the problem is, those aliens don't give them that much time. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone in the car fell silent for a moment, and it was indeed the case. They don't have that time to wait anymore. I will apply to my superiors to see if we need to directly arrest them. After speaking, he picked up his phone and dialed the superior's number. After a while of communication, he immediately hung up the phone and looked at his subordinate with inquiries in front of him. The superior said, I'll observe for another day and see. If I really can't find any evidence, then I'll take action to arrest the person. Can we finally start catching them now? Upon hearing this news, everyone around immediately felt a sense of joy. This guy of unknown origin has been here for so long, although he doesn't usually notice what the other person has done. But they are very certain that the other party is definitely an alien spy. How else can we explain the other person's appearance? Inexplicably appearing, this person has been found nowhere on the entire planet. Alright, let's inform the action team and have them prepare to take action. They are just monitoring here, so their actions are definitely not as good as those of the action team. In addition, to prevent accidents in the future, it would be better to leave this matter to the members of the action team. After leaving, there's nothing to look at. In front of the mall, Lin Yicheng glanced at the big screen and shook his head slightly to signal Meng Yujun to leave. At this moment, Lin Yicheng didn't know that he had already been monitored. After coming into this world and getting to know it a bit, Lin Yicheng no longer wants to get in touch with the official world. The extraterrestrial civilization he briefly understood was too similar when compared to the Trisolaran civilization. If that's the case, there's a high possibility that there might be something intelligent on this planet. If that's true, then he'll just stay honest until he's fully charged and leave here. Zhaozhuyuan.com. As for the rest, Lin Yicheng felt that he didn't have the ability to manage it yet. After all, if there were really Zhizi, Lin Yicheng's rash appearance would definitely be targeted. Zhizi himself doesn't have much killing power, but he can't resist things like ball traders. There are countless assassination methods such as nerve viruses, food poisoning, and car accidents. For safety reasons, it's better to just wait and leave honestly. As for this world, if you really want to help, it also requires him to have that ability. Lin Yicheng thought of this and looked around suspiciously, thinking to himself, if there were Zhizi, he probably wouldn't have noticed him yet, right? Not sure in his heart, but Lin Yicheng still looked around with suspicion, somewhat worried. However, Lin Yicheng's glance quickly caught the attention of the surveillance personnel sitting inside the car. In their view, Lin Yicheng's behavior is definitely not what a normal person should have. This guy seems to have realized that he was being monitored. They just hid behind the camera and had no direct contact with the other person. In this situation, how did the other person perceive that they were being monitored? However, this also proves that this guy should have some inexplicable relationship with aliens. Thinking of this, a group of people finally came to their senses at this moment. I've been monitoring this guy for so long, and I haven't seen anything unusual about him. At this point, this guy has finally shown something unusual. Just a question, is this guy carrying any high-tech products? So we detected their surveillance equipment. Chapter 3. Flying Sword Aircraft. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Shoo. The sound of rushing past kept ringing in his ears, and Lin Yicheng couldn't help but look up at the sound. In the sky, brilliant tail lights were dragging past, and when looking for this tail light, one could see a flying machine with a handle resembling a long sword dragging the tail light. Lin Yicheng couldn't help but twitch slightly as he watched this scene. The Flying Sword brand aircraft combines countless high-tech achievements from floating cars. Its price is several times more expensive than a floating car. Both are aircraft, and the reason why this Flying Sword brand aircraft is so expensive is mainly because it contains a lot of high-tech technology and has been scaled down. After all, this thing is not like a floating car, it has so much space to use. It's like the world has already mastered nuclear fusion technology, but miniaturizing nuclear fusion technology is countless times more difficult. So the price naturally becomes expensive. When Lin Yicheng thought of the first time he saw this Flying Sword brand aircraft, he was stunned and felt that it was also quite explosive in the ranks of the aircraft. Hey, it's just a flying machine. As for looking so mesmerized. Meng Yujun, who was originally planning to turn around and leave, turned his head to look at Lin Yicheng staying in place, his eyes fixed on the flying aircraft in the sky, and he couldn't help but say with a hint of helplessness. During the time spent with Lin Yicheng, I couldn't help but watch Lin Yicheng staring at the aircraft non-stop. You don't understand, this is the romance that belongs to men. Lin Yicheng couldn't help but reply. After Meng Yujun heard this, he couldn't help but curl his mouth. Unexpectedly, you look like you came from India and Africa, but this idea is exactly the same as the person who bought the Flying Sword aircraft. Meng Yujun also had some male friends around him, all of whom were wealthy and belonged to the ranks of high wealth and handsome. These friends also like to play with this kind of aircraft, which is exactly the same as what Lin Yicheng said, saying that it is a man's romance. However, one is affordable and the other is not. Tisk, if only I could afford this thing and bring it back. Lin Yicheng looked at the aircraft above with a hint of longing in his eyes. There are too many high-tech elements contained in this aircraft, such as energy shields, anti-gravity systems, small nuclear fusion technology, and so on. Just bring these things back, they will be enough for the Earth to digest for hundreds of years. But the most important thing is that with this thing, Lin Yicheng will go to other worlds in the future, as long as it is not a world with highly developed technology, there is such a thing. That's basically no need to worry about safety. Unfortunately, this thing is too expensive. Even if Lin Yicheng has worked in this world for hundreds of years, he may not be able to afford it. Upon this thought, Lin Yicheng couldn't help but wear a mask of pain on his face. Hey, I've been looking for you these days. How about becoming an apprentice in the factory? You don't have much education, so there's no hope for a better job. You can only learn technical skills as an apprentice. Meng Yujun turned his head to look at Lin Yicheng, his face serious. Lin Yicheng has been by her side for several days, and she is indeed looking for a job. Through these few days of interaction, she also feels that Lin Yicheng has a good personality. It's not because she gave her a few bites that she put on an airs of relying on her. And this is also the reason why she is willing to help Lin Yicheng find a job. Ah. Lin Yicheng's face couldn't help but feel bitter as he listened to these words. Why did you change the world and still have the life of working? Lin Yicheng could not help murmuring a word at the moment. What? Lin Yicheng's last sentence was too quiet, causing Meng Yujun to not hear it clearly. Seeing this, he couldn't help but look back at Lin Yicheng in confusion. No, since it's arranged, I'll just go. Lin Yicheng didn't know how long he had to leave. He had been by Meng Yujun's side for quite some time, so he couldn't continue to trouble him. Thinking of this, Lin Yicheng couldn't help but take the other person's expression a bit seriously. If there is a chance in the future, I will repay the kindness in the past few days. Meng Yujun waved his hand indifferently upon hearing the words, I'm not helping you out of gratitude. I'm already very happy that you have this heart. Although her family is not particularly wealthy, they are still considered above average. As for Lin Yicheng, it is almost impossible for those who are both poor and impoverished to become rich in the future. So she didn't try to figure out anything about Lin Yicheng. Instead, she felt that Lin Yicheng had a good character and a positive outlook on life. She was very happy, at least because she had helped someone she considered a good person. The next day, Meng Yujun drove a floating car and directly brought Lin Yicheng to the factory of her acquaintance. Upon learning of Meng Yujun's arrival, a middle-aged man from the factory walked out with a smile on his face. Mr. Meng is on time. Do you want to go in and have a drink? Meng Yujun's suspension car is often repaired here, which can be considered a fixed repair point. He gets familiar with the boss here as he travels back and forth. Previously, Meng Yujun posted a message on his own account about finding a job for others. In order to maintain his loyal customer, Director Kong sent a message to Meng Yujun on zhaoshuyuan.com without hesitation. You can't just drink. This is a friend I'm telling you about. Just let him become an apprentice in your factory, and his salary will be fine as usual. Meng Yujun spoke up at this moment to explain. It's easy to say. Upon hearing this, Director Kong nodded repeatedly and then glanced at Lin Yicheng beside him, pondering in his heart what the relationship between the two was and how to arrange for him to become an apprentice here. Actually, he just wanted to be polite. Lin Yicheng saw Director Kong in front of him and was about to politely say hello to him, but he didn't expect a few passers-by around to suddenly erupt and then pounce directly at him. Don't move, from the Security Bureau. I suspect you are suspected of endangering the country, please come with us. The words had just fallen, and Lin Yicheng was already tightly bound by electronic shackles, with Meng Yujun also connected. Director Kong, who was standing beside him, was stunned by this scene. He looked at the group of people standing beside him with a fierce momentum and quickly took a step back, then spoke up repeatedly. I don't know a few of them, it's none of my business. When he said these words, Director Kong had a hint of fear on his face. What kind of person is this? How could he still be accused of endangering the country? Meng Yujun's mind was also a bit confused at the moment, but she had not yet figured out what had happened. Listening to Director Kang's words beside her made her look change. She didn't expect this guy to help her get away with anything, even standing silently on the side was normal, but with these few words from this guy, there will still be people in her circle in the future. Don't think anyone will come back to take care of his business. Chapter 4. Lie Detection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boom. Accompanied by a roar, after a moment, Lin Yicheng and Meng Yujun were respectively taken off the car. Before Lin Yicheng had a chance to look around, he said to Meng Yujun not far away, It was me who caused you trouble, but you can rest assured that nothing will happen. Lin Yicheng was only able to say such a sentence when he was interrupted by fierce cheers, as the people on the side did not allow him to communicate with each other. Meng Yujun calmed down a lot at this moment, and she had already carefully considered it when she was just in the car. She definitely did not commit the crime of endangering the country, and that should be Lin Yicheng. During this period, she and Lin Yicheng were basically staying together, and she didn't do anything else. I think she should have nothing to do. When she got off the car, listening to Lin Yicheng's words made her feel a little certain. After a moment, the two were taken separately to the interrogation room. Lin Yicheng sat on the chair, his expression not too flustered. He is just a traveler, and even if he accidentally came to this world, he didn't do anything wrong to this country. We can't blame him for being a traveler, can we? Name: Lin Yicheng. Age: 25, gene number: I don't know. Registered residence: this universe. Virgo superlocal cluster. Local cluster: Milky Way galaxy. Orion spiral arm. Third ring of the solar system. Upon hearing this answer, the several people in charge of recording in the interrogation room paused slightly before looking at Lin Yicheng. When asked about Lin Yicheng's gene number just now, Lin Yicheng said he didn't know and they didn't question it. Mainly, the lie detector on the side did not light up, indicating that Lin Yicheng was not lying. But now what place name is the other party reporting? Is it the location of that extraterrestrial civilization? But how does this seem inconsistent with the position they observed? Not to mention that this term is incorrect from what they are expressing. Just to say the last sentence, the third ring of the solar system is still easy to understand. But the location of that alien is not in the third ring. And the planet where China is located is not in the third ring, but in the fourth ring. Is this machine broken? Or is it not working for this guy? A few people looked at each other and began to doubt whether Lin Yicheng was intentionally talking nonsense. I didn't drink last night. The interrogator on the side attempted to speak to the machine on the side. At the next moment, a small radar-like ornament lit up with a red light, accompanied by a beep. Oh. What about a lie detector? It looks like this. Upon seeing this scene, Lin Yicheng immediately realized that this thing was a lie detector, and he also had a desire to try it. Did I do something harmful to China? Drop. The lie detector lit up a red light, indicating that Lin Yicheng had lied. At this moment, the sound of the alarm made Lin Yicheng feel extremely relieved. His hand spread out at this moment and he said, "Let me tell you a few. This lie detector is your property. You believe in your property, right? You see, what you said about me being suspected of endangering China. Now it's clear that I'm not right. Can you let me go?" Lin Yicheng's expression was serious at the moment, and he didn't want to have too much communication with the other party. The longer Lin Yicheng stays here, the more unfavorable it feels for him. It's better to leave here as soon as possible. Several interrogators were also a bit confused at the moment. What's going on? This guy really hasn't done anything to harm their country. Just based on this truth alone, they cannot just let Lin Yicheng go like this. After all, Lin Yicheng's background is too suspicious. I understand now. You said you didn't do anything harmful to our country. Maybe you just stood in your position and thought you didn't do anything harmful to our country. For example, if you are from the demolition office, you can give the demolition funds to the demolition households. You feel that you have not harmed the demolition households, but the demolition households do not feel that they must accept the demolition funds. Their positions are different, so their thoughts are naturally different. When using a lie detector, one does not think from a standpoint or other perspective. Lin Yicheng couldn't help but laugh and cry as he listened to the interrogator's words. What are you talking nonsense about? I said it from the perspective of China. If you really want to say it, I am also a descendant of the Yan and Huang dynasties. No light. It's impossible. Lin Yicheng's words fell, and several people looked at the lie detector next to them and froze. How could it be? Is this guy really not thinking about doing anything harmful to China? Several people were a bit confused at the moment, not understanding which stage of the interrogation went wrong. A few people looked at each other and then took a deep breath. After staring at Lin Yicheng for a while, the experienced chief judge on the side asked in a deep voice, "Okay, let's change the question. How did you appear in this world and who are you? We have conducted a global survey and there is no one on the planet like you. Since the arrival of that alien spacecraft back then, along with the highly aggressive remarks from the other party, the 5 top countries have already begun global deployment. However, nowadays, there are only 2 top superpowers in the world. After so many years of deployment, they can ensure that there is no Lin Yicheng among the people on this planet. So it seems that Lin Yicheng is also an alien." Upon hearing this, Lin Yicheng felt a headache and his expression became somewhat conflicted. He was worried that the other party would ask about this matter. "Where I come from and who I am really don't have much to do with you. You just need to care more about the extraterrestrial civilization. I'm not with them either." At this moment, Lin Yicheng can be considered as putting in a lot of effort. He just hopes these guys don't waste their thoughts on themselves. "I advise you to be honest and lenient." The interrogator in front of him patted the table, his face not looking pretty. As he spoke, he also played back what Lin Yicheng had said yesterday, "Why has the world changed, or is it the fate of working?" Based on this statement, we can basically confirm that you are not from this world. What else do you have to say? Lin Yicheng was stunned at this scene for a moment. It seemed like he had been under surveillance for a long time. Since even the people of China have noticed themselves, if aliens really have Zhizi, they may have already noticed themselves. That means it seems meaningless to procrastinate like this. "I want to know, have you been monitoring me since the 5th? Lin Yicheng pondered for a moment and then inquired. On the 5th day, it was the time when he had just arrived in this world. Chapter 5. Zhizi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yes. A few people didn't have any intention of concealing this, they nodded and admitted directly. Lin Yicheng was not too surprised to hear this. To be honest, upon arriving in this world and seeing how advanced technology has become, Lin Yicheng vaguely felt that he might have been noticed. If only noticed, the other party did not come to find him, so Lin Yicheng happily hid on the side and did not contact the official. "I promise to cooperate, but afterwards you have some needs that you need to meet me." After thinking about it, Lin Yicheng decided to break the jar and fall. As the saying goes, seeking wealth and fortune insurance is a pursuit. I used to worry about how to get some things to take away, but now opportunities are in front of me. It's unreasonable not to give it a try. Several interrogators exchanged glances and then sent several messages out. After receiving approval, they quickly nodded at Lin Yicheng and agreed. Upon seeing this scene, Lin Yicheng reached out to touch the lie detector beside him, but after exploring for a while, he didn't know how to turn it off, and his expression suddenly felt a bit awkward. "How do we close this thing?" "We need you to temporarily close it." The interrogator frowned slightly upon hearing this, not knowing what Lin Yicheng was up to, but hesitated for a moment before turning off the lie detector. Lin Yicheng lazily leaned against the chair behind him and shouted towards the empty space in front of him. "Zhizi, I know you've noticed me too. Don't hide it, come out." As he spoke, Lin Yicheng looked full of confidence, as if there were really other people here. Several interrogators were a bit confused when they saw this scene, not knowing what Lin Yicheng was up to. After patiently waiting for a moment, there was still no other sound. Lin Yicheng frowned upon seeing this, his expression somewhat impatient. "How about unfolding protons into 2 dimensions, etching them into circuits, and making a supercomputer? Can we get it out now? What is this guy talking about?" In the interrogation room, several interrogators looked at each other face to face, not understanding what Lin Yicheng was saying. Just now that Lin Yicheng is speaking so solemnly, it's not easy for them to interrupt each other. But just as they were a little puzzled, a bright light suddenly appeared in front of them, and then a screen slowly appeared. A line of text also appeared on the screen. "Who are you?" "Hush." In the interrogation room, a group of interrogators couldn't help but shiver when they saw such an incredible scene in front of them, and an indescribable look of shock appeared on their faces. "Huagua has been monitoring me for so long, I believe you have been monitoring me for a long time." Lin Yicheng looked at Zhizi, who appeared, but his level of panic was not lower than that of the interrogator beside him. It was just that he was still trying to pretend to be calm at the moment. Originally, Lin Yicheng was just giving it a try. Based on the information he had previously learned, this civilization is indeed somewhat similar to the three-body problem, and there may be something like Zhizi. Unexpectedly, the other party really has it. If possible, Lin Yicheng would rather the other party didn't. "Who are you?" The other party did not deny it and continued to inquire about Lin Yicheng's identity. "Just travelers passing by this world." Lin Yicheng casually said a perfunctory sentence, then looked at the interrogator beside him and shrugged, "Look, that's why I don't want to talk too much to you. Your every move is being monitored. There is no secret at all." After hearing Lin Yicheng's words, the interrogators in front of me turned pale and red. They didn't expect that the other party's technology could reach such a level, as if they were living under the other party's eyelids. According to the information I have learned, this alien is on a planet several light-years away. Even if it has a monitor here, it will take many years for the message to be transmitted once, so these secrets are not considered secrets. A woman with a slightly delicate appearance beside her spoke with a face full of dissatisfaction. Although the other party has such technology, which makes her look a bit unbelievable, she doesn't think it poses any threat. "What about quantum communication at home? You probably don't know about quantum entanglement, do you? The instant messaging of this thing transcends the speed of light." Seeing that even Zhizi has developed this civilization, Lin Yicheng does not believe that the other party has not developed quantum communication. The female interrogator on the side fell silent upon hearing these words. To be honest, she is not in the field of scientific research, how could she know so much? "Travelers passing through this world. As far as I know, you have shown an unprecedented appearance in even the most suspended cars, anti-gravity systems, and other small technologies. With your previous display of ignorance, you should not be able to become a traveler in the world." The subtitle above changed and once again became a single line of text. The news revealed between the lines made Lin Yicheng unable to help but be silenced. As a traveler in the world, it requires powerful technology to support it, but Lin Yicheng's previous performance does not seem to come from a high-tech civilization. The emphasis is just different. Lin Yicheng let out a dry cough. Anyway, the lie detector on the side was not turned on, and Zhizi did not have a lie detection function. Lin Yicheng was not at all untrue. Moreover, he did indeed possess such a remarkable technological achievement, which led him to travel here. Upon hearing such an answer, Zhizi on the other side immediately went into hiding at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, seemingly not wanting to continue communicating with Lin Yicheng, or rather, the other party had other things to do. Lin Yicheng watched as Zhizi disappeared without stopping him. Sitting in place, he shrugged at the interrogators in front of him and said, "Look, I told you I'm not with them. Also, can you tell me how long it will take for these alien civilizations to descend on this planet? Please confirm the arrival time of the other party so that I can run away as soon as possible." Lin Yicheng murmured in his heart. Several interrogators glanced at each other upon hearing the words, and then gave a bitter smile. If Lin Yicheng had asked this question before, they would definitely not have said it, but now that they have seen things like Zhizi, there is no need to hide it from Lin Yicheng. I don't know. Lin Yicheng was stunned at the words and then looked at the other person with a suspicious expression on his face. What kind of answer is this? How could he not know? The technological gap is too great for us to monitor the opponent's spaceship movements. The opponent's fleet technology has far surpassed the Sentinel spacecraft that fell here earlier. Upon hearing this, Lin Yicheng couldn't help but remain silent. No wonder he concealed so much from everyone that he couldn't even detect the specific movements of the enemy fleet. It seemed like he had already lost the battle before it even began. A few people saw Lin Yicheng silent, and then remembered what Lin Yicheng had just said. In their understanding, Lin Yicheng should have come from another civilization. So, does Lin Yicheng have a way to help them resist another civilization? With this in mind, the female interrogator on the side swept away Gang's questioning attitude and said with utmost sincerity, "I wonder if your civilization can help us overcome this crisis." Chapter 6. Focus. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The interrogator in front of him poured Lin Yicheng a cup of hot water while speaking, but his attitude was countless times better than before. "Do you believe me now? Don't worry that I'm deceiving you." Lin Yicheng was somewhat surprised by the appearance of several people. He originally thought that these people still had some doubts about his identity. A few people looked a bit embarrassed when they heard this, which couldn't help but make them not believe it. Just because Lin Yicheng just exposed the extraterrestrial civilization intelligence, it's enough for them to believe in Lin Yicheng. As for saying that Lin Yicheng and this extraterrestrial civilization teamed up to deceive them, it is impossible. Because earlier, when the Sentinel spacecraft of extraterrestrial civilization crashed onto the Blue Star, the other party forcibly used the PHX on the Blue Star due to inability to communicate with the parent planet, resulting in the signal being received globally. And that extraterrestrial civilization was not at all worried about the Blue Star people knowing, and even left a disdainful sentence for the Blue Star people, "You are all insects." Such an arrogant attitude made them not believe that the other party would go through such a lot of trouble, and let Lin Yicheng cooperate in acting to show them. "It was our problem before, and I apologize to you here." Several people stood up solemnly and bowed to Lin Yicheng to apologize. Seeing the appearance of a few people, coupled with Lin Yicheng's plea to them, he did not continue to argue about this matter at the moment. "My friend who came with me, I hope you can have someone talk to her and not make things difficult for her." Lin Yicheng still didn't continue the conversation with the other party, but instead talked about Meng Yujun who was brought together. "Don't worry, I have already informed my colleagues over there." Seeing that Lin Yicheng was concerned about Meng Yujun's situation, the team leader immediately spoke up. Lin Yicheng felt relieved upon seeing the situation, then pondered and began to organize his words before continuing, returning to the topic just now. "You said you wanted to ask if there is any way to help you overcome this crisis. To be honest, I don't have that ability." Lin Yicheng met the other person's expectant gaze and then let out a long sigh. "The technology gap is too big, it's completely in a crushing state. How can we compete with the other party? Even if the other party's technology is rapidly developing and can build thousands of spaceships, but what about that? When the Spring Festival arrives, will there be 3,000 sounds? What? With your ability to easily come into this world, can't you help us?" Compared to that extraterrestrial civilization, Lin Yicheng in front of him is actually much kinder and able to communicate. The focus of technology is different, so there is no way to help. Lin Yicheng shook his head and said helplessly, "Besides, you don't even know when the aliens will arrive. Even with the support of those technologies, are you sure you have enough time? In less than half a minute of communication, Zhizi and I left, and I believe it was calculated that I had no ability to help you, so it hid and didn't want to continue communicating. Because of the inequality, it lost interest in communication." At this moment, Lin Yicheng guessed the reason why Zhizi was hiding. He doesn't know much about this extraterrestrial civilization, but he can feel his aloofness and indifference towards the Blue Star Man. When it realized that they were not in the same position, it simply gave up communication. Now, perhaps for the people on this Blue Star, the only way is to try using the Dark Forest Law to deter this extraterrestrial civilization. Just this move requires the entire Blue Star person to gamble their lives. If Lin Yicheng were to directly tell them at this moment that he could try this method, some people would surely think that Lin Yicheng was intentionally doing this. They will feel that Lin Yicheng is not from this planet, so there is nothing to regret for him about the life and death of people on this planet. Even those who want to use this as a means to eliminate two civilizations, such malicious speculations and so on. When the time comes, with Zhizi pushing the waves behind him, Lin Yicheng feels that his safety on the Blue Star is in jeopardy. If we really want to tell them about this method, Lin Yicheng will have to wait until he is about to leave and say it. To ensure one's safety to the greatest extent possible. Also, I don't know if the current Blue Star has the ability to broadcast its position to the universe. I don't know if the Dark Forest Law can work. Another concern is the selection of the sword wielder. There are too many problems here at this moment. The interrogators in front of them fell silent collectively, and the hope that had just been ignited seemed to disappear without a trace. They didn't doubt Lin Yicheng's words, they only felt that what Lin Yicheng had just said was very reasonable in their hearts. The aliens are considered good, and with Lin Yicheng's abilities and the current level of Blue Star's technology, they are completely unable to pose any threat to them. Therefore, after talking to Lin Yicheng for a few words, I decided not to talk anymore. Arrogant attitude, just like the attitude when using Blue Star's broadcasting equipment to send messages back then, when searching for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com without any hesitation. Is it just that way? The Blue Star people really can only wait to die? When aliens arrive, can Blue Star people really only wait to die? Mr. Lin, do you think if you escape by boarding a spaceship, you can still save your life? The other party said it was a spaceship, but it should be an ecological space station in space. Lin Yicheng fell silent for a moment upon hearing this, then shook his head and said, although I don't know much about this ecological space station, I don't think I can escape. Besides, this alien probably wouldn't let you leave like this. Why? Lin Yicheng's words stunned several interrogators. The arrogance of that alien civilization makes us insects to them. If a few insects run away, there's nothing they can care about. On Blue Star, many people have this idea. Since the other party is so arrogant, perhaps running away is also a way. The construction of an ecological space station can also be considered a temporary habitat for humans. They are just arrogant, not foolish. If they really have no concerns about Blue Star, then they will not send Zhizi to Blue Star for surveillance. Lin Yicheng shrugged and shattered their last bit of fantasy. What if a group of people on the Blue Star are allowed to leave, and these people are fortunate enough to have a habitat, and there is a technological explosion? Or perhaps, after these people left and learned about the Dark Forest Law, they changed hands and broadcasted the position of the Blue Star to the universe, so what would happen? In short, at the moment of meeting Zhizi, Lin Yicheng felt that the other party would not let go of any Blue Star people. Chapter 7. Special Skills. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A few people listened to Lin Yicheng's words and felt a little trembling all over. For many people on the Blue Star, running away is seen as their last resort, and now Lin Yicheng has directly shattered their illusions, informing them that there is no way out. Does this mean that their Blue Star humans will be destroyed from now on? Xiaoya, please treat him well and let's stop discussing here. I need to report this matter to my superiors. After the interrogation team leader hurriedly finished speaking, he quickly turned around and left. He needs to quickly report what just happened. All along, he thought that aliens, who were countless light years away, were unaware of what was happening on his side of the Blue Star. But today Lin Yicheng took the initiative to expose Zhizi's existence, letting him know that their every move was under the surveillance of aliens. Moreover, the other party is constantly monitoring. So, what other secrets does Blue Star have in their eyes? Their so-called various plans are all known to the other party. There are already huge differences in technology, and now they are still being stared at by the other party. How can we fight this battle? I can't fight at all. No wonder Lin Yicheng, who comes from another world, had no intention of interacting with them from the beginning. The other party already knew that this extraterrestrial civilization had arranged Zhizi, and also knew the gap between the two sides, in this situation. Even if the other party has the intention to help China, it is impossible, right? After he hurriedly left here, only 10 minutes later, an emergency online meeting was convened. According to the confidentiality level of this matter, it was absolutely not possible to hold an online meeting, but due to the urgency of the situation and the presence of Zhizi, this confidentiality seems unnecessary. At the meeting, after watching the video of Zhizi, all the superiors were silenced. Alien civilizations have been lurking on their blue star for so long, and they only found out now. If it weren't for Lin Yicheng, I probably wouldn't have known yet. Is what this so-called person from another civilization says credible? And how did he come to our blue star? After a moment of silence, an old man asked about Lin Yicheng's identity. The guys who came to the blue star all seemed difficult to deal with, except for the local people who were submissive, which was truly frustrating. Also, when did their blue stars become so fragrant? That alien civilization hasn't arrived yet, but another world traveler has arrived. If our lie detector doesn't go wrong, what he said should be true, but the authenticity of some of the later conversations is questionable. You see, when he was about to talk to Zhizi, he deliberately turned off the lie detector. I think he didn't want to be honest with some things, so he turned off the lie detector. For example, his identity is not that of a so-called world traveler, or rather, he actually has a way to deal with this extraterrestrial civilization. After some analysis, several people present were all silent for a moment. They actually noticed this too. Regarding this so-called world traveler, if you are there, please treat him well for the time being and try to meet his needs as much as possible. Anyway, since he said earlier that we are all descendants of Yan and Huang, I am willing to give him a little more trust and treat him with courtesy first. As for the Spark plan, let the department heads involved in the plan come to the base and have a meeting to discuss it. Also, make a supplement to the information and give some researchers reference on Zhizi's information to see if they can find some solutions. By the way, the alien came to Blue Star by spaceship, and how did he come to this world as a traveler? At this point, a group of people looked at the captain of the interrogation team in unison, and he was also a bit confused when he saw this scene. He doesn't even know about this, forget it, let's investigate more later. Seeing the other person's appearance, the superiors also know that they are a bit difficult for them. The other person really comes from another world, and the technological means must be far beyond their imagination. After all, weren't they also unaware of the existence of Zhizi before? Mr. Lin is truly sorry for the misunderstanding and actions I have caused you before. I hope you can understand. In the interrogation room, Wu Xiaoya left with Lin Yicheng while repeatedly apologizing to him. Knowing that Lin Yicheng is indeed not affiliated with that alien civilization, and Lin Yicheng is likely to be their savior in this world. Wu Xiaoya's attitude towards Lin Yicheng has undergone a huge transformation. I am deeply afraid that due to my own reasons, the other party may become dissatisfied, which may cause Blue Star to lose its last chance. Lin Yicheng listened to Wu Xiaoya's words and was about to say something when he suddenly saw the door of the interrogation room in front of him being opened, and Meng Yujun walked out from inside. At the moment of seeing Lin Yicheng, Meng Yujun's face suddenly became somewhat strange. Meng Yujun took a few steps forward and approached Lin Yicheng, looking up and down at the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com. His eyes showed a hint of curiosity, but at this moment, he couldn't hide it at all. Are you really a traveler from another civilization? At this moment, Meng Yujun still couldn't believe it. After being brought here, she was still a bit uneasy, thinking that she had unintentionally gained some kindness. If you want to do a good thing, it seems like you're stuck in trouble. What she didn't expect was that she had just heated up the chair. The person interrogating her immediately changed their attitude, not only apologizing for what had just happened, but also revealing Lin Yicheng's identity. When she first heard the other person say this, she was completely dumbfounded. Living in this era, encountering an alien civilization invasion is already outrageous. And now, another civilization has arrived. However, relatively speaking, the people of this civilization seem to have a much kinder appearance. I said yes, do you believe it? Seeing that Meng Yujun also knew about this, Lin Yicheng didn't find it too strange. Instead, he smiled lightly and replied. If it weren't for the people from this security bureau telling me that and saying they're 100% certain, I wouldn't have believed it. You don't look like. Meng Yujun leaned over and poked Lin Yicheng with his finger, muttering, from another civilization. It seems like there's no difference between him and us Blue Star people. Do you have any special abilities as an alien? Upon hearing these words, Lin Yicheng suddenly felt a sense of helplessness as he let the other party poke at him. Don't think about it, we are essentially indistinguishable, he said, compared to your civilization, my civilization is like a twin egg. Chapter 8, you'll find out later. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Your civilization has also been invaded by extraterrestrial civilizations, and you can't find a way out in other worlds. Listening to Lin Yicheng's words, Meng Yujun asked with a somewhat silly and cute expression. Upon hearing this, Lin Yicheng immediately shook his head and thought to himself, his world was clearly in good condition. Saying that our civilizations are similar is not saying that we have encountered the same thing. As he spoke, Lin Yicheng walked outside with the other party. It was already noon and he was already hungry. Lin Yicheng and his wife went out, accompanied by someone from the security bureau. This was agreed upon with Lin Yicheng to temporarily protect his safety. Lin Yicheng did not refuse the approach of the security bureau, but instead felt that it was quite good. Anyway, it should be fully charged in a few more days, and he can leave here then. During these days, safety has been the main focus. After Lin Yicheng got a little further away, Xiaoya turned around and looked at her colleague beside her, asking softly. Is it really feasible to ask Lord Mengyu to test Lin Yicheng and see if there is a way to deal with aliens? The colleague on the side's face froze slightly upon hearing this, and then had a somewhat uncertain expression on his face. I don't know, but this is because the superior has formed a think tank with many elites to analyze him. In terms of his actions during this period, he doesn't seem to be much of a person who likes to accept others' kindness honestly. This is their common belief. This can be seen from many details in the video. So the members of these think tanks came up with a plan, saying that since Lin Yicheng has such ideas, it's better for Meng Yujun to persuade the other party. Speaking of which, he couldn't help but look at their backs. That's also why Meng Yujun knew about Lin Yicheng's identity. They revealed Lin Yicheng's identity to the other party, and then made some language hints, not asking the other party to ask Lin Yicheng naked whether there is a way to break through the crisis of Blue Star. They only need to give Meng Yujun a hint, as for the rest, it depends on how the two get along on a regular basis. It's better to go too far than to go too far. Anyway, Lin Yicheng has said several times before that he will repay Meng Yujun if there is a chance. In the restaurant, Lin Yicheng and Meng Yujun both sat down, ordered a few dishes, and then ordered a large cold drink. It's not summer yet, but the weather is already very hot. Just inside, they didn't embarrass you, did they? Although there were people from the security bureau nearby, Lin Yicheng didn't have any intention of avoiding it and directly asked Meng Yujun about it. Upon hearing this, Lord Mengyu immediately shook his head and said, that's not true, but I always feel a bit unreliable about what they say about you being a traveler of the world. I have also been with Lin Yicheng for several days, and I don't think there is anything special about him. He is ordinary and even feels that his understanding is not as good as some other ordinary people. Then I can't carve these words on your forehead to make you believe them. Upon hearing this, Lin Yicheng said helplessly, but as he spoke, his eyes occasionally looked towards the nearby interface. I don't know why, but at this moment, the charging rate has suddenly reached 90%. Looking at this, it should take another 2 to 3 days for the charging to end. I don't know if I can bring something when I go back then. He has been pondering this matter until now, but has not seen any space for carrying around. Although it was the first time traveling and possessing this thing, it was too difficult to ponder, to the extent that Lin Yicheng has not yet thoroughly studied it. However, What Lin Yicheng is most concerned about now is whether he can bring something to leave when he turns around and leaves. If that's not possible, wouldn't this world come in vain? Meng Yujun drank the cold drink in his hand and couldn't help but chuckle. That's not necessary, but when you leave later, let me see how you travel around the world. Look at that alien, at least he has his own spaceship fleet or something. What about you? This question is good. Upon hearing this, Lin Yicheng didn't know how to answer, and his eyes turned black as he entered this world. He didn't know what happened during his journey, the only thing he knew was probably that he didn't actually have a spaceship. You'll know later. Lin Yicheng thought for a moment and sold a trick. Anyway, he didn't know what it was like when he traveled. You'll find out later. Listening to these words, several members of the security bureau nearby felt a stir in their hearts. The meaning behind this statement seemed to be that Lin Yicheng was about to leave here in no time. Meng Yujun did not know the meaning behind Lin Yicheng's words, but felt that Lin Yicheng was saying that he would let her know how he traveled through time later. With this in mind, Meng Yujun immediately changed the topic and brought it to the point of his concern. Are you saying that this extraterrestrial civilization is really powerful? Is Blue Star really unable to confront them? Previously, due to his lack of ability and authority to learn too much, Lord Mengyu did not care so much about these things. But now with Lin Yicheng here, she is still eager to know the outcome of the game between the two sides. Lin Yicheng pondered for a moment upon hearing the words, then sighed and didn't want to deceive the other party. You see, many technologies on Blue Star have made significant progress compared to decades ago, which may seem like a leap, but in reality, these developments may be the result of the other party's intentional efforts. Based on some information I have learned from them before, many of Blue Star's technological achievements now come from analyzing that alien spacecraft. But for example, the engine, power system, weapon system, physics and other related theoretical knowledge of that spacecraft were all damaged. And apart from these, there are still some achievements left today. If the other party can destroy so much information, how come these materials are left? He's just arrogant, not stupid. At this point, Lin Yicheng's tone became somewhat meaningful. When we talked about this topic before, many people said that it was because extraterrestrial civilizations were too arrogant, so they didn't destroy these technological materials. I think it doesn't matter even if the Blue Star people control it. But if we look at it from a different perspective, is it the other party intentionally guiding Blue Star people to develop in this direction, thereby delaying the research and development of technology? Chapter 9. Latest Models. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Meng Yujun was immediately stunned at the words. In fact, she has also been influenced by mainstream voices today, and various people online are very clear about the analysis of this matter. It's completely certain. This is because extraterrestrial civilizations are too arrogant, which is why they have left behind some scientific research achievements. After listening to this statement many times, it is inevitable to believe it. But now, listening to Lin Yicheng's words, she suddenly realized with horror that this seemed to be the other party's plan. If that's the case, the other party seems to be a bit afraid of us to a certain extent. Upon hearing this, Meng Yujun pondered for a moment before coming to a conclusion that surprised her. But it seems impossible. With the technology of Blue Star, we are completely at the same level as the other party. Why is the other party afraid of them? Thinking of this, Meng Yujun looked up at Lin Yicheng, only to see him shrug his shoulders and say, I don't know that anymore. During the conversation, Lin Yicheng had already started using his chopsticks to prepare for dinner. Seeing Lin Yicheng like this, Meng Yujun could only eat with him. On the other side, the think tanks watching Lin Yicheng's every move through the lens are currently analyzing what Lin Yicheng just said means. They think that Lin Yicheng may be giving them some hints. But for many things, it seems difficult for Lin Yicheng to speak directly. However, this is understandable. After all, Zhizi is everywhere, and if Lin Yicheng is still being taken good care of by the other party, it must be constantly monitored. And this was right when the other party requested to turn off the lie detector at that time. Some intelligence should not be known to that Zhizi. Has the analysis result of this guy come out yet? In a slender and pitch-black massive warship, an alien commander stands on the bridge, watching the intelligence information being transmitted. On the information, Lin Yicheng's face appeared directly in front of them. They had already noticed this guy who suddenly appeared on the blue star at the first moment. No matter how they search and observe, they cannot find any abnormalities in this person, nor can they find any devices that can make the other person suddenly appear. This situation has made them even more alert. The battleship is still some distance away from the blue star, and any unknown factors that are about to occur could potentially lead to the failure of this mission. But now that the warship has reached this position and the combat intent has been known by the enemy, there is no way to turn back. The resources inside the warship are no longer enough for them to return. There is too little information, and the intelligent brain cannot provide accurate analysis results. The adjutant on the side handed over the latest analytical intelligence upon hearing this. Seeing this scene, the commander's face was somewhat gloomy. They are somewhat different from the Blue Star people. As civilized people, they are relatively short in stature, and almost none of them can exceed 1 meter in height. This is because their planet has too much gravity, which affects them. On their planet, in addition to gravity, there is also an extremely harsh environment. According to their brain calculations, their planet has at most 300 years left before it begins to collapse. At that time, their civilization will come to an end. Although their civilization has the ability to build space stations for survival in space, this is not a long-term solution. Civilization only knows how important a habitable planet is when it reaches their level of development, and it is completely a huge treasure. Living in outer space, a casual cosmic disaster is enough to destroy everything. Therefore, they began to set off for the Blue Star, hoping to plunder this planet. How much does Zhi now estimate the threat level of this person? The threat level has reached 10%, it is recommended to clean up. 10% of the threat level. Based on the previous data analysis, the other party should not have reached this level of threat. I didn't expect Zhi now to give such a high level of threat. The commander in front of him was a bit worried at the moment, but if he could clean up this person, it wouldn't be much of a problem. Try to cause an accident as much as possible, so as not to raise suspicion among the Blue Star people. The intelligence of Blue Star people is not low. If the other party knows that they are going to take action to eliminate someone, they will also realize that they actually have something to fear. Even the current Blue Star technology is not too high, and there have been no significant breakthroughs. The clearance plan has been formulated. There should be one more day before we can leave. Lin Yicheng looked at the panel in front of him, with a faint smile on his face. Watching the progress of this energy bar, he felt like he could go home soon. But before going home, there's something you can't forget. Thinking of this, Lin Yicheng walked towards the person following the security bureau not far from him. There are many people in the security bureau. In addition to the few people who follow Lin Yicheng behind him on the surface, there are also many people behind the scenes. Just the exact number and where the people are, that's not what Lin Yicheng knows. Mr. Lin, what's up? I have been following Lin Yicheng for 2 days now. During these 2 days, Lin Yicheng felt like they didn't exist and didn't have any communication with Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. The instructions from the superiors also require them to protect Mr. Lin well, and there are no other instructions left. In this situation, they are also extremely dedicated to taking care of Lin Yicheng's safety issues. At this moment, when Lin Yicheng suddenly walked over, they became a bit nervous. I remember reaching an agreement with you in your interrogation room before, that we could make some demands, but I'm not sure if we can still count on it. Lin Yicheng looked at the person in front of the security bureau and spoke. Xiaoye, standing in front of Lin Yicheng, was stunned at the words and immediately nodded. She naturally remembered what was said in the interrogation room, not to mention that later her superiors issued orders to meet any needs of Lin Yicheng as much as possible. May I ask what Mr. Lin needs? Looking at Lin Yicheng in front of her, Xiaoya also asked very seriously. Upon hearing this, Lin Yicheng's face relaxed. In this way, he could get what he wanted. You see, the latest version of a Skywalker has been released. Can you give me one? Qingshao aircraft, also known as the flying sword in the aircraft. To be honest, Lin Yicheng has been thinking about this thing for a long time, and his eyes have been envious for a long time. Previously, he was unable to make a purchase, but now someone from the Security Bureau has promised that Lin Yicheng thinks he can ask for it. As for requesting high-tech and other technical information, Lin Yicheng didn't think about it. One is not sure if the other party will agree, and the second is that even if they really get it, when they can figure out these skills is another matter. In addition, this physical object is the best thing to enhance his own protective ability. Chapter 10. Accidents. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Xiaoya also thought about what Lin Yicheng would ask for, but never expected that Lin Yicheng would actually demand such a thing. She was momentarily stunned, but soon she realized and said, "Please wait a moment, I will arrange this matter immediately." Xiaoya didn't say anything about applying, but rather about arranging. Lin Yicheng nodded at the words, and Meng Yujun, who was following beside him, couldn't help but laugh and cry as he listened to Lin Yicheng's words. Why is this person really thinking about this thing? It seems that although the world is different, what you men like doesn't seem to change much. Meng Yujun looked at Lin Yicheng and couldn't help but chuckle lightly. She really didn't expect that Lin Yicheng had been thinking about this thing for so long. If you leave then, how much do you need to bring a local specialty with you? Lin Yicheng couldn't help but defend himself upon hearing this. Everyone has come and left without bringing anything, what is that? A one-day trip to the future world. I haven't even taken a single photo of this. It seems very reasonable. Meng Yu pondered for a moment and suddenly felt that what Lin Yicheng said was quite reasonable. This is all here, we have to bring something and leave. Mr. Lin has arranged it, will we take you to choose now? Xiaoya approached and whispered to Lin Yicheng. Lin Yicheng nodded and then followed the other person in a suspended car, which drove straight to the destination. After getting off the car, Lin Yicheng got off and walked in. Seeing the dazzling array of flying machines, his heart couldn't help but beat. A handle resembling a flying sword is displayed among them, and the most dazzling one is undoubtedly the latest model of this year. Just looking at the appearance is extremely smooth, and the upper part is designed with metal, giving it a strong mechanical feel at first glance. In the sword body, the outer shell is made of glass material, allowing for a clear view of the various systems operating inside. All kinds of chips, energy supply, and circuit system distribution are clearly visible at a glance. And when it still hasn't started, the effect will appear even more cool. The handle of the sword is made of the latest aerospace-grade metal material to protect the small nuclear fusion device inside. It can be said that the hardest part is also here. The sword body part, on the other hand, is responsible for various auxiliary function systems, which can relatively reduce the material requirements. After all, this thing was designed for safety and not for war. This brand new design can be said to completely leave behind the old designs of the past. Lin Yicheng looked at this latest model with a hint of light in his eyes. Meng Yujun stood on the side, feeling a little emotional at the moment that the design of this thing was really beautiful to the extreme. I suddenly have a feeling, why do you guys like this thing so much? Just say that the appearance of this thing is already very beautiful. Meng Yujun sighed, but he somewhat agreed with these men who like to play with the flying machines. Even if it's placed at home, it still looks very nice. Lin Yicheng directly ordered the latest model of the aircraft, but Xiaoya, who was following him, saw it with a smile on her face. According to their psychoanalysts, Lin Yicheng still attaches great importance to the principle of reciprocity. At the moment, the other party is actively requesting something, and no matter what it is, if they give it now, the other party should give some return. Lin Yicheng didn't know what Xiaoya was thinking next to him. After taking the latest model of the aircraft into his bag, he immediately walked happily towards the door. However, just as Lin Yicheng walked to the door, he could only see a loud roar. Then a dazzling light began to shine ahead. Lin Yicheng's pupils suddenly shrank when he saw this. Before he could react, Xiaoya on the side suddenly rushed forward, hugging Lin Yicheng at an extremely fast speed, and then pounced on the side. Bang! I only heard a muffled sound, and then I saw a huge noise coming from beside me. Lin Yicheng was a bit startled and uncertain. When he turned his head to look, he saw a maglev car that had been completely destroyed by the collision, and thick smoke slowly rising beside him. What's going on? Xiaoya nervously checked Lin Yicheng, confirmed that he was fine, and then quickly looked towards the maglev car. She wants to know what exactly happened. At this moment, other people hiding in the dark also ran out, extinguishing the fire generated by the impact of the maglev car and rescuing the driver inside. It seems like we can't stay here for a whole day anymore, so let's take action on me. Lin Yicheng's expression on his face at this moment was inexplicably somewhat unattractive. Previously, the other party noticed that they probably didn't intend to engage with the official world, so they didn't have any other thoughts. And later, seeing that I had already been in contact with him, I probably felt a bit threatened, so I took action. To you. What do you mean? Xiaoya was taken aback at the words and looked at Lin Yicheng with a strange expression at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Of course it's that extraterrestrial civilization. You wouldn't think this car accident was an accident, would you? Upon hearing this, Lin Yicheng immediately spoke up. Xiaoya frowned as she listened to these words. She had not yet investigated thoroughly, so she made an assertion that it was the extraterrestrial civilization that did it, which seemed a bit too much. But on the other hand, there is indeed something fishy about this matter. Mr. Lin, how would you like me to take you to the safety base? Faced with the threat of extraterrestrial civilization, several security bases have already been built in China to prevent future major wars. Xiaoya's task is to protect Lin Yicheng, and at the moment, she dare not let Lin Yicheng stay outside recklessly. Lin Yicheng nodded immediately upon hearing the words, he didn't want to risk himself. Xiaoya saw Lin Yicheng agree and immediately called out to her colleagues. In less than a moment, more than 10 military maglev cars quickly arrived. When they picked up Lin Yicheng, the convoy immediately left. To ensure safety, the roads driven by the convoy have been temporarily controlled. Such a scene made countless people on the street look puzzled. With such a big battle, how could it be that an extraterrestrial civilization has attacked? While countless people were puzzled and secretly speculating, Lin Yicheng also smoothly returned to the safe base. Watching the gates fall one by one, Lin Yicheng followed them all the way to the depths of the base. Then a person hurriedly walked over and leaned in Xiaoya's ear to say a few words, which slightly eased Xiaoya's expression. I just investigated and found out that there was no problem with the driver. It was purely due to a problem with the signal lights that caused the suspended car to be unable to dodge before the accident occurred.